Gold One Management says it will cautiously resume operations tomorrow at Moda East as it cannot afford further losses, which are running into the millions of rands per day. The mine in Springs suspended operations last week following tensions over labour union recognition. Some workers affiliated to NUM have been demonstrating, demanding that the employer expedites the balloting process for their new union of choice, AMCU. The Labour Court is to hear the matter on an urgent basis on Thursday, which AMCU hopes will lead to the termination of a 2012 closed shop agreement between the National Union of Mine Workers and Gold One, which exclusively allows the union to organise at the mine.
Gold One Mine says it continues to assess the situation at its Moda facility in the east of Johannesburg with the intentions of resuming full operations on Wednesday. The mine had to beef up safety measures through the deployment of police and private security following clashes that saw the torching of a vehicle belonging to one of the workers.
We are in the process of sending out communication to all employees, just informing them that as of tomorrow, it is back to business as usual. We expect all employees to be back at work, and we have again addressed further communication to the unions, just urging restraint and urging that they respect the instruction for people to come back to work.
The mine says although it has communicated with clients and shareholders on the current developments, it cannot afford to continue to keep operations closed. It plans to maintain the heightened security to protect their operations and infrastructure.
The safety of our employees remains paramount. So until things have calmed down over a period of time, we will still have private security, and we would also have the police on standby. So we, while the situation has calmed down, we know that it could flare up at any time.
AMCU has taken its rival union, the NUM, to the Labour Court, a matter set for Thursday in a bid to try force the termination of a closed shop agreement between the NUM and the mine and to see a balloting process held.
If the NUM adopt the approach to voluntarily dissolve the closed shop agreement, then between ourselves and them, we can agree on a time frame within which we would voluntarily dissolve the agreement. In that instance, there wouldn't be a need to go to the Labour Court on Thursday.
12 people, including minors, were arrested earlier this week for public violence and detained at the Springs police station. Their fellow workers want those arrested released unconditionally.
We didn't fight with the police. There's nothing that we destroyed that belongs to the mine. We didn't beat anyone up. All we wanted as miners was for the company to take our plight into consideration.
The company says it will continue with disciplinary hearings of workers charged for the illegal underground sit-in about 2 weeks ago. It's hoping that these two will be concluded as soon as the situation returns to normal at Gold One Mine. SABC News, Johannesburg.
So are there likely to be fresh disruptions at that mine, the Gold One's Moda East mine, over this ongoing dispute over who the majority union is? AMCU, as you heard, they're calling for recognition, while under the current closed shop agreement, the NUM is the majority union, officially representing workers on that mine since 2012. Recently, a sit-in/hostage situation involving hundreds of workers halted operations as AMCU demanded recognition. So what is likely to happen now? Ziyaad Hassam, who you saw on that package there, the head of Gold One's legal, joins us now to explain. Ziyaad, good evening to you and welcome to the program. So just a couple of clarifications for us. You were explaining to our reporter that so this action between AMCU and NUM goes before the courts, and this is to terminate the closed shop agreement. If NUM decides to voluntarily drop their majority status, then the company, Gold One, would then look at a process that would unfold for it to be dissolved, and then I suppose the next step then would be balloting the workers. Don't you just have this power as the employer right now if it emerges that there is a challenge to the majority status of a union who does have that agreement? Do you not have the prerogative to just institute that on your own?
Hi, good evening. So I think before we answer that question, I think it's important to understand the nature of closed shop agreements. So the closed shop agreement essentially recognizes the NUM as the only legitimate trade union within the A and B category of employees. That means that closed shop agreement remains valid until there is a legitimate challenge. Now, there is a legitimate challenge from AMCU. We've passed that petition onto the NUM, and seemingly dissatisfied with the pace of that, AMCU have taken the matter to court. Now, we've urged the NUM to move at pace, particularly because any delays will cause further disruptions. But the prerogative does rest in terms of the closed shop agreement with the NUM. So it is up to them to come up with a process and a time frame. We can certainly urge and we can put pressure on that. And the AMCU proceedings that are set for Thursday has done exactly that as well. And so our position in the proceedings is to not oppose the AMCU position, and to so what we expect to happen is that the Labour Court will then order that a ballot be held within 5 days. NUM has the power to make that happen in a quicker time frame without needing to go to a ballot. So if they opt for a voluntary dissolution, we can then avoid potentially going to court on Thursday, and we can also avoid having to do a ballot next week. A dissolution voluntarily between ourselves and NUM will mean that there is no longer a closed shop agreement in place, and both the NUM and AMCU can now effectively attract employees and submit stop orders based on the employees that elect to go with either union.
So it sounds then, Ziyaad, by the way, and thank you very much for that clarity, that the power really rests with NUM in terms of this closed shop agreement. Unless they voluntarily cede that, it has to go to the Labour Court. There might be an order made and then something else flows out of that. Would you say that NUM is basically holding Gold One to ransom and in a way costing you potentially millions of rands?
Well, look, I wouldn't put it in as strong terms as that. I think NUM obviously have a position, and they believe that there is legitimacy in that position. I think their defense will primarily rest upon the fact that they believe that the petition does not contain, or they are going to attack the validity of the petition, and I think that's going to be the primary argument that they'll make. We have certainly urged NUM that in the interest of operations continuing normally, and in the interest of bringing a speedy resolution, that it is in the interest of all parties going forward that NUM opt for a voluntary dissolution. But they're at liberty to exercise their rights in terms of the closed shop agreement, and in terms of labour law, and we need to respect that position.
When you say you've urged them, what does it mean, Ziyaad?
Well, we've been having several meetings with them over the last few days, and again, we've put our position very clearly on the table that we would like this to get resolved as speedily as possible and with the least amount of disruptions as possible. And the best way to do that is a voluntary dissolution. So we've certainly urged them that it is even in their best interest to opt for that approach.
Yeah.
They have been locked in marathon meetings, internally before they can come up with a position. We've heard at various times over the course of yesterday and today what their position may or may not be. But at this point, we've not received official word from NUM as to what their position is. If that persists through the course of tomorrow, then we approach Thursday as though they will be opposing. And we leave the matter in the hands of the Labour Court.
This all goes away, Ziyaad, if they just say, okay, fine. I mean, things might have changed. We've been in charge. We've had this closed shop agreement for over 10 years now. Let's see who really is in charge. It sounds like they are afraid of a challenge to their authority in terms of Labour representation at the mine.
Well, again, I don't want to comment on where the majority lies because time will tell as far as that's concerned. But certainly it is the easy way, and it's the way that we're urging them to follow, because it does then leave the decision in the hands of the employees. They can decide voluntarily which union they would like to have represent them, and it again, it's the quickest way to end the impasse that we're currently in.
Ziyaad Hassam, thanks for chatting to us tonight. Gold One's legal head, just sharing with us the latest at their Modder East mine.